everybody, and welcome to Miami. It is the Blue Jays in town as another interleague series comes your way here on Fox Sports Florida. The Marlins hosting the Jays for a 3-game set here in Miami. Yes, a very special night as well. There's Yadiel Rivera on the Iron Throne. It is Game of Thrones night. Harlan Garcia, and then posing with some fans along the way as well. So a pretty fun night here at the ballpark, and glad you're with us here as we welcome you inside the broadcast booth, Paul Severino and Todd Hollinsworth. Well, a short road trip through Boston was exciting in a couple of different ways. A tight ball game and then a not-so-tight ball game. But it's nice to be back home where the Marlins have played very well.
Well, and that's absolutely the facts, right? They played much better at home than they have on the road this year, but I thought they competed pretty well up in Boston. You subtract maybe 4 innings. Of course, you can't do that, right? We're looking back in hindsight. There were some good things. Well, the one thing that we know is this Blue Jays team, they can hit a little bit. They can hit some home runs. They can hit some doubles, and they're going to have to match that again. The Marlins, they had that good offense up in Boston. Hopefully they bring some of it home.
This is interesting because as we get to this point in the season, heading into September, which starts tomorrow, this is the first time we're seeing the Blue Jays.
Right.
We've kind of seen everybody else along the way. So as you take a look at the Toronto Blue Jays, they do some things well and some things maybe not so well.
Well, and that's absolutely the truth. They have some of the same issues that the Marlins have, and at times they do some things that are really, really impressive, like the home runs. We certainly all know that Kendrys Morales has had an incredible run, right? 7 straight games in which he's homering. They've got 10 guys who've got at least 10 homers on this team. That adds up to the 182. Now, here's the kicker with the Blue Jays. 4.5 runs per game. That's pretty impressive in the American League. But they're giving up 5.2 runs per game. So that's why they find themselves eliminated already from the playoffs. That's even hard for me to say out loud, really, because the Marlins don't have nearly the record the Jays do. But the point is this. They can hit some home runs, and again, we'll see if they can pitch a little bit in this series.
And we'll see who's still with the organization. Some rumors around, maybe Josh Donaldson will be dealt by midnight tonight, as well as Curtis Granderson, but again, we shall see. On the Marlins side of things, Dan Straley goes. He had a little rough patch, but the last time out, 6 scoreless innings for Thunder.
Well, I'll tell you what, Thunders can hang his hat on one thing this year, and we certainly know he's the guy in this rotation, especially as this season has developed. They've needed for him to make big starts. August 24th, versus the Braves, his 3rd win versus the Braves this season. Remember, the Marlins, so many issues against them, but Dan Straley has owned them. Now, going tonight, one thing he's got to do, keep an eye on this. At times has trouble with the long ball. What do we pair that with? This Blue Jays team that can hit a few long balls.
Absolutely. We are going to step aside here from Marlins Park. When we come back, yes, Game of Thrones night, as we have been saying for the last week or so. Winter is coming to Marlins Park. And we got the guys in center field coming up next. now to center field to our royalty, Craig and Nelly.
Oh, very nice. It is Game of Thrones night here, very popular cable television show. So we've got a little connection between the Marlins and the popular show. We're going to deliver for you, and Nelly is up on the show, so he's going to give us a little insight on what we're talking about. So let's start, Nelly, with House Targaryen. JT Ramiro.
The house traits, building potential, possibility of power.
And we've seen that.
We have seen that. 17 homers. It's tied a career high. One more, obviously, a career high.
Absolutely. 12 of those on the road for JT. He's at 311 on the road. Our next house. House traits from House Stark.
Noble. Honorable. Rojas has been very noble at the plate.
Yes, he has. He's been outstanding, very consistent as well, whether he's been home or on the road, and great defense too.
Yeah, it's so fun, so much fun to watch him play.
House number 3, House Lannister, Nelly.
Intelligent and ambitious.
For those who do not know what Game of Thrones are lost at this point, but the Georgia Tech guy, Mr. Dietrich's had quite a year at the plate.
Especially, yeah, you've just mentioned offensively. We've seen defensively in left field, now first base. So much fun. He's getting an opportunity to play every day. He's shown it at the plate.
And the other house that you see on Game of Thrones night, one of them, House Tyrell.
Quiet, but deadly. He will sneak up on you.
What about Trevor Richards as far as a House Tyrell guy?
He snuck up on the league so far, especially over his last 8 outings. You know, I really love watching his fastball's location's been great. Great changeup. The breaking ball needs to improve. He knows that. He's working on it. He'll work on that in spring training. I think he's a part of this rotation in 2019.
Done any voiceover work? You should build that into your repertoire.
And we know what Rivera's house is, the Marlins house. I think I walked past that throne. It looked like a bunch of swords. I think it was made of.
Yeah, you couldn't fit it. It was too small for you. All right, coming up.
What are you saying?
Blue Jays are in Miami. Tall guy. I don't know how tall they are in House of Thrones. But I do know in the Miami Marlins house, we got baseball next.
The Snowbirds are here early. Toronto Blue Jays in town for a 3-game set. Jays in Marlins as we wrap up August tonight, get ready for September and some larger rosters going forward as well. As the batting order tonight is presented to you by Southwest. Billy McKinney at the top, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Kendrys Morales all due up in the first inning against Dan Straley. Morales, of course, had that 7-game streak in which he had hit a home run, and Danny Jansen is hitting number 6. He's the catcher. A young man that this club really likes. Could be the catcher of the future. We'll talk about him and the Blue Jays as we are now underway. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth, glad that you are with us on a Friday night. Start number 22 for Straley.
Yeah, Dan Straley looking to even up that record at 6-6. Just 1 game under right now. 4.35 ERA. 4.46 here since the All-Star break. He's pitched just a tick better here at Marlins Park. 4.39. 3 wins, only 1 loss. Last start was an outstanding one against the Atlanta Braves. 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs. Get into it right away. Fastball command was good in his last start. He did teeter just a bit early on, but the slider incredibly effective. And one thing that really stood out to me, through 98 pitches, 48 fastballs, 50 breaking pitches his last start, and the slider was outstanding. He was able to kind of add and subtract off of that slider. We've already seen it. Second strike he picked up in this equation right here, the slider.
StatCast AI powered by AWS. See how the Marlins have the youngster McKinney played. A ball and 2 strikes on him. McKinney originally a first-round pick of the A's back in 2013, but he has bounced around a little bit as he strikes out by a guy who was in the same deal as him back in 2014. More on that a little bit later. First, the defense of the Marlins.
Yep, here they are. Dean once again in left field, Sierra in center. Ortega makes the start in right. Anderson at third, Riddle at short. Castro and Dietrich rounded out. JT Realmuto once again behind the plate for Dan Straley on the mound. Pretty well rested after a day off yesterday. Got in kind of late. Well, we'll call it Thursday morning, if you will.
Yep. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in the air, left center field. There will be room for Austin Dean.
Well, it's about this time during the show that we bring up the fact that the Toronto Blue Jays hit lots of home runs, love to put the ball in the air, slug as well as just about anybody in the American League. And we are oh so curious to see how the next few days go, because that is who they are. We've got 10 players with 10 home runs at least. And here's the other thing. I mean, they've only got 2 guys at 21. Smoke's on the bench and then Morales. They've each got 21, but you know, the rest of it's just kind of divvied up amongst the roster. But this is Marlins Park, and we certainly know how Marlins Park has played this season. How will that affect the Blue Jays?
Yes. I believe the line from Wizard of Oz is we're not in Kansas anymore. Well, we're not in Canada anymore.
That's right.
Blue Jays. Although last week, this time, Kendrys Morales was hitting him out left and right and center and all the different countries. 21 home runs, but he had gone 7 consecutive games with a home run. Fell 1 short of the all-time record. He gives this one a ride out to center field, but the ballpark will hold it on a 9-pitch inning. A couple of long fly balls, but all outs. Is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By WB Mason. Who but WB Mason, the official office supply company of the Miami Marlins. By Chevrolet. See your South Florida dealer today. And by your local Toyota dealer. Let's go places. Roof is closed, windows closed. The Blue Jays are in town for a 3-game set, a 9-pitch first inning for Dan Straley. So now we get to watch Aaron Sanchez work. His first pitch to Rafael Ortega is in there for a called strike. Ortega, of course, leading things off. And then it's Brian Anderson and JT Realmuto to follow. That's the batting order presented to you by Southwest. Again, this is a lineup on both sides that will certainly look a little different tomorrow when the rosters expand as Ortega flies out, one away.
All right, here's your numbers for Aaron Sanchez, making his 17th start of the season. He is just one start away from returning from the disabled list. He had a right finger contusion. Faced the Marlins, 4.95 ERA this season. We're going to get into his story this year. It's an interesting one. Let's give you the AutoNation scouting report. Fastball command will be key. Sanchez has had a hard time making, as I call them, pitcher's pitches when he is behind in the count. See if we keep our eyes on that tonight. Give you a couple of examples. 0-0, 311, 1-0, 350, 2-0, 500. How about a 3-1 count? Hitters are hitting 643 against Sanchez. So as long as you don't chase, you might get a good pitch to hit. Second time through, that ERA bloated. 798 or above in that 4th and 5th inning. And time for a change. It is actually his best secondary pitch. Hitters hitting only 150 against the changeup and over 55% of his strikeouts on the pitch.
It's kind of a new pitch for him, or at least a new grip for him in 2018 as he's down on the count 2-1 to Brian Anderson.
Well, Sanchez is a very interesting story. You know, obviously dealing with a lot of hand injuries, finger injuries over the last 2 seasons. This season clearly cut short by a trip to the 60-day DL. This young man led the American League in ERA just 2 seasons ago with a 3. He was an all-star. He was the Blue Jays pitcher of the year in 2016, and he was 24 years old. Had the best winning percentage at 15-2, 882 on the season. I mean, he was absolutely dominant. 23 of 30 quality starts. Of course, this is 2 years ago. We're telling you a different story here in 2018.
He did not go, says the first base umpire Tim Timmons. Looked close, but Anderson held up. And the count 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Sanchez 5.05 ERA in 7 road starts.
And Anderson draws the walk.
Let's get you the Blue Jays defensively behind Sanchez tonight. Beginning to start in left. Pilar in center. Grichuk in right. Diaz, Gurriel, Travis Morales making the start at first base. Only his 16th start at first base this season. It's more or less their full-time DH. Smoke on the bench tonight. Jansen behind the plate.
1 on, 1 out for JT Realmuto. Had a home run Tuesday in the first of that 2-game set in Boston. That was his first homer since August 19th. He's up to 17 home runs and 66 RBIs. The homers tying a career high. The 66 RBIs setting a career high. And still a month left to go to add to both of those numbers. That one got in the corner. 0-2 back to Beantown earlier this week.
Yeah, one thing leads to another. You know, I love talking hitting, and when you turn around 95 miles an hour the way JT did in that instance there, you feel like a guy's about ready to get hot. And what did he do? He started to heat up. 5 hits in Boston, driving in runs, and certainly hope he picks that up here at Marlins Park on the homestand.
Florida Lottery in-game jackpot. Most consecutive games with an RBI in the National League. 3 right now for JT Realmuto. Manny Machado with the Dodgers with 5. Those are current streaks, of course. 5 ribbies in the last 3 games for JT. On the ground to third. They get the 1. Extremely strong throw from Travis. they get the lead runner, and they're 2 away. So Anderson erased, and that will bring up Derek Dietrich. He's at 16 homers. He also homered at Fenway Park, a drive out to right field.
422 feet, pretty impressive off David Price. A changeup up in the zone and was ready to go.
That one they check over at third, no swing. That's the crew chief Mike Winters. We've met half the umpires. Winters is over at third. Mike Machlinski is at second. Tim Timmons at first, and Jansen Visconti calling the balls and strikes tonight. 2-0 to Dietrich. Chases that one, and it's 2-1.
You got a pretty good look at the changeup. That's where it sits. 89, 90 miles an hour. Throws it hard. That was 25% of the time. 217 batting average against that changeup. It is the one pitch that is probably improved since 16. Ideally for the Marlins, certainly worth mentioning again, they probably want to stay on the fastball more than anything.
On the ground to Morales, who will step on the bag. And Sanchez and Straley match zeros in the first. Zeros cross as we move to the top of the second inning. Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth along with you. First of a 3-game set. Another AL East foe. The Marlins have seen the Yankees, who were in town last week. Quick 2-game trip up to Boston, and now the Toronto Blue Jays. They will wrap up their AL East portion of their schedule. Randall Grichuk to lead things off. Kevin Pillar and Danny Jansen here in the second inning. Grichuk having a nice year in terms of the power and the RBIs. 19 homers, 47 ribbies. He takes a called strike there, and he's been hot as of late. 15 of his last 31 with 5 doubles, 3 home runs.
He's been able to raise his batting average from 224 to 247 over his last 6 games. He's going to be starting to finally feel comfortable with the Blue Jays.
Really bounces that one in. 2-1.
Grichuk coming over from the St. Louis Cardinals. Certainly has tons of power. Cardinals used to rave about it, but again, kind of waiting for him to put it all together for an entire season. Just has not happened yet.
he was one of those guys I felt like, and this is more anecdotal than perhaps actual, but it just felt like he'd get hot for 2 weeks and then cool off, and then he was in the minor leagues, and then Stephen Piscotty would get hot for 2 weeks and then he'd cool off and he'd be in the minor leagues, and those two guys would just kind of go back and forth without being able to find that consistency. But to your point with the Jays, he's found it. One away.
Miami, join us for our neighborhood series. We are hosting Hialeah Night in Marlins Park tomorrow. Tickets start at just $12 for all residents and city employees. For more information, visit marlins.com/neighborhood.
And I'll bring up Kevin Pillar. Not to be confused with former Marlins great Kevin Millar. Two totally different people. Just so you know. This one chopped wide of the third base bag. Gaudio Rivera makes a nice play over the railing. To third for Anderson. And 2 outs here in the second.
I do find it interesting, Paul, to see how this series actually plays itself out. You know, you look at the numbers behind the scenes, like the Marlins, for example, are known for hitting a few more balls on the ground than they do in the air, yet the Toronto Blue Jays, they give up a ton of balls in the air. That's what their pitching staff does. Well, their offense very much the same way. Hitting the ball in the air. It's the 4th out in the air tonight.
That's the 3rd out of this inning. Another quick one with 9 pitches again for Straley. 18-2. In the first 2 innings, and now Aaron Sanchez toes the slab again in the bottom of the second. Starlin Castro, JT Riddle, and Austin Dean due up against Aaron Sanchez. Castro 4 for 8 in the series in Boston, and a home run, 3 RBIs, and has really hit well against the American League this year. 347. Which is 10th among NL hitters. See if he can get something going here in the second against the righty.
Well, he probably has some sense of familiarity with the American League East. A lot of the guys that he's facing, he has recently seen, including Sanchez.
The only guy with any real numbers against Sanchez, or numbers, yeah, real numbers. He's got 99 at bats against Sanchez. Nobody else has more than 12. called strike, 2-1.
As we mentioned, Sanchez recently coming off the 60-day disabled list. Last start, August 25th, against the Philadelphia Phillies. 4 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned runs. 8 of the 10 hits came against the fastball. That fastball or sinker. You see the sinker, a little running action, 93 to 96. It's kind of where it sits. Lefty's hitting .313, righty's .217 this season.
That's a called strike. Time perhaps not granted to Starlin Castro. Either that or he just wanted nothing to do with the 3-1 pitch. Either way, it's full. Changeup misses low, and it's a leadoff walk. Second free pass issued by Sanchez tonight. Time for the Toyota Inside Look. Again, this series wraps up the AL East portion of the Marlins schedule. We'll see the AL Central next year and the Tampa Bay Rays as always. But 8-9 overall. Of course, the last couple of games in Boston flipping that record from 1 over to 1 under. But 2-1 against the Orioles, a team that just swept the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, let's be fair. I mean, listen. The Marlins, it's been a tough year when we talk about the record, but against the Boston Red Sox, I know 0-4, 8-9 overall, but better than I feel like that 0-4 really tells you the story. They were in 3 of those games. I know we look at the final line, we think back to the beginning of the year. We go 13 innings in game number 2 against the Red Sox.
Yep.
Game number 3 was a 1-run ball game, and Marlins were leading in the 7th of game 4. Most people would tell you they're the best team in baseball.
The record says so. A lot of people that have seen them, you see the Marlins just got a good look at them for a couple of days. The Blue Jays have seen a lot of Boston as well. Talking with some of the Blue Jays people before the game. Yeah, not enough good stuff to say about the Red Sox right now. JT Riddle fouls this one back and out of play. 2 balls and a strike.
Just for the fun of it, I even think of some of the road wins. I mean, a nice road win in New York early. That was a tough one. Harley Garcia was awesome that day, but started the second half against the Rays. Remember how hot the Rays were at home? That's all we were raving about, was how dominant they were.
14-1
when
or
it
something.
Took 2 or 3.
Right.
In fact, had a chance to sweep them.
Two to Riddle. That's that pitch. If he gets it working, it could be a tough night.
Well, and it's such an interesting set of circumstances. Like, how do you game plan against somebody really like that who's throwing 96, 97 miles an hour on the fastball with great late action?
Riddle lines one out to left field, and making the play is Billy McKinney over his shoulder for out number 1.
Hey, Marlins fans, now you can stream games live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go, presented by Coors Light. In the app, take Fox Sports Florida and Marlins baseball wherever you go. Yeah, it's been an interesting story to tell for Sanchez. You go back to that 2016 season, that kind of rattled off some of the numbers, led the American League with a 3 ERA. His fastball was as dominant as anybody's in the sport. In fact, was throwing it 75% of the time. The 4-seam fastball and the sinker. We've already seen it tonight. The batting average against those pitches, 241, 244. This season, through the roof.
Austin Dean takes low and away, 1-0.
Those numbers up to 329 against the 4-seam fastball, 260 against the sinker. He's, for the most part, relied on that tonight. But only threw the changeup 9% of the time, throws it 25% of the time now.
Little low, 2-0 to Dean. Yeah, he had that 3 ERA in 2016, as you mentioned, an All-Star, top 10 in the Cy Young Award. Last year, though, a lost year. Only 8 starts for Sanchez. He had blister issues that turned into nail issues that turned into ligament issues in that same kind of the pad of that middle finger, right by the nail. Everything was kind of creating a problem over there. And, know, it might have been one of those situations where he's trying to protect an injury, so that just creates another one. And then this year, the reason why he was on the 60-day disabled list. Now, to say that he's got some baggage would be a bit much, but it was his luggage that did him in. Apparently, his finger, he said, I got it stuck in my suitcase and it started falling. It all happened in the span of about 30 seconds. And that's kind of what derailed his season. It's just his 17th start here in 2018.
Well, certainly the Toronto Blue Jays are hoping that Sanchez can get back to the 2016 form, because if he doesn't, well, I think they may continue down the path that we're all hearing that even today that they're on. Josh Donaldson is available. He may be moved. Granderson may be moved. I think it's fair to say that they're ready to rebuild the team.
Castro moving and thrown out. They strike him out, throw him out, double play. Jansen with the caught stealing. Marlins may give it a second. Castro hanging out around second, but even if the inning's over, he'll take his position anyway. Tim Wallach is on the phone with the video room. The naked eye didn't look all that close at all.
Almost sliding into the tag, but it was bang bang at second base.
Strike him out, throw him out, double play, ends the second. Scoreless heading to the top of the third inning here at Marlins Park. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Bottom third of the order due up for the Jays. A ball and no strikes on Aledmus Diaz, then Devin Travis, and the pitcher Aaron Sanchez. 9 pitches in each of the first 2 innings for Dan Straley, trying to piggyback what he did his last time out, the 6 scoreless innings against the Atlanta Braves. This one popped up on 2-0 into shallow left. It will be Riddle to make the catch for out number 1.
Well, 7 outs in and 21 pitches in. I think he'll take the efficiency.
Yes.
He's good for 16 innings today at this rate.
Well,
I don't want to go there. I hate saying that out loud, but that's kind of what the pace he's got going.
Marlins have played a lot of extra innings. Yeah. Let's not awake the baseball guys.
I wasn't trying to bring light to that question, but been doing it.
Although there is a night game tomorrow night. If there were a day game tomorrow, then I would unplug your microphone right now before before you go too far.
Well, we can't help but pick up on the fact that we've seen, what, 3, 6, 7 hitters, and 5 have hit the ball in the air for an out.
Ball and a strike to Devin Travis, the Blue Jays second baseman, who applied the tag on the Marlins second baseman. Starlin Castro on the caught stealing to end the home half of the second.
Now the Blue Jays 245, 315, 430. That's their triple slash line as a team. Slugging percentage 7th in Major League Baseball. OPS of 745, 10th. We've told you the 182 home runs. That's third most in the American League, behind the Yankees and the A's. Now, of course, those two teams are pretty close to getting to the postseason.
Very close to 100 wins already, too.
Right. But I find what's so interesting is almost, you look at the Blue Jays, and it's, the idea that they're trying to do what some of the big boys in the American League are trying to do, and you see that they're 32 games behind. Ouch.
Yeah, it will be interesting to kind of be in the rooms with the Rays, as this one is sent out to right center field. Long run for Sierra, and he'll make the catch in the gap. Terrific speed, covered a lot of ground, enough air underneath it, and he'll make the play for out number 2.
Said it a few times, watching Sierra run, he catches just about anything that stays in the yard. Great route, great break, good read. Some communication with Ortega. Chasing that speed.
That'll bring up Aaron Sanchez. And what I was going to say was it'll be interesting to see kind of how the Rays and the Jays evaluate their season, because you could look at the wins and losses and kind of evaluate that way, or you can look at the games back and say, well, we never had a chance.
Well, and you got to continue
to
continue to evaluate moving forward. And we can speak to this. That Yankees team isn't going to change a whole lot. I mean, look who spearheads. Look at who's at the top of that rotation. Severino, your half brother.
Right. He got all the talent.
And then you've got the Boston Red Sox and that young team that we just witnessed. How about the offense?
How about the defense from Dietrich? And another quick inning for Dan Straley. 3 scoreless for him.
On Sunday for Margaritaville at Marlins Park. Drive early to sit back, relax, and enjoy the pregame festivities. All Parrot Heads, Beach Bums, and Marlins fans that purchase a ticket package receive an exclusive Margaritaville t-shirt. Get your tickets at marlins.com/Margaritaville.
Look at what the t-shirt said. You see that? It's 3:05 somewhere. Very clever. Instead of it's 5 o'clock somewhere, it's 3:05 somewhere. Very nice. Scoreless as we head to the bottom of the third inning. Magniori's Sierra to lead things off, and then Dan Straley in the top of the order, Rafael Ortega against Aaron Sanchez. Blue Jays play the corners up on Sierra, who takes the first pitch inside for ball one. Grounded to Travis at second base for the first out. Now, earlier tried to kind of tell the whole story of the 60-day DL and why he missed it. Aaron Sanchez, he got his finger stuck in some luggage. Well, that was actually a day that he was pitching, and he decided to kind of gut it out. He said it was the first time that he was going to pitch in front of his family as a professional, and wanted to see what I could do. So he goes out there, he pitches, and he said, well, that really didn't help. And then here you go. That was June, and he was back, as you mentioned, for the first time, last time out. Did give up 10 hits, but the reports say not a lot of hard contact.
And 8 to 10 on that fastball. That's the one thing that, you know, you kind of keep your eye on, and I love to find out the hows and the whys of certain, you know, careers and seasons. Ground ball to the right side. Out number 2 here in the third. Dobby Quick, yeah, 2016 he was a fantastic pitcher, and I think, you know, most people around the American League, and you can go to the injuries, but again, the fact that he has not been in the rotation every 5 days over the last couple of seasons has really hurt his numbers, and so many people think that he is a top line guy, maybe top 10 in the American League, and you see the movement, you see the velocity, but then you start to look at the numbers over the last 2 seasons. You say, well, something's not right. Really, all it tells you is that that fastball's been getting hit a little bit more, but you could argue that's because he hasn't been in the rotation enough.
That one inside to Rafael Ortega, who flew out to Pilar in center field back in the first inning.
That's so interesting. We always talk hitters. I know I do that obviously an awful lot, but you know, we get getting into a rhythm. It's comfortable, does this. Pitcher's got to do the exact same thing. And when you're off and on that disabled list all the time, I mean, there's really no way to get to it.
There's really no way to get to anything you want to talk about either.
That was quick. I don't know about you.
8 pitch inning.
You can have the next half.
Might be home by 8 tonight.
Here to Marlins Park, zip zip as we move along, top of the 4th inning. Marlins enjoyed a day off yesterday, a very eventful day, one that Trevor Richards and his now fiancee Anna will never forget. He went over to the Coral Gables Beach over at Matheson Park, and he proposed to his lovely girl Anna. Now, they've been dating for 10 years. He's known her since sophomore year of high school, and he told us today she has gone through thick and thin with him, the independent ball, the whole roller coaster ride through minor league baseball, independent ball, and here to the big leagues. And he said 2018 has been a great year so far, but so much more to come, and he had a big smile. He actually went to a company, guys, to set up the beach proposal. Did you know there was a company that does that kind of work?
Clearly, I had no idea.
Well, now you do.
Now I know.
Yes.
So when I want to re-propose to my wife, I need to use this company.
Proposals are us.
Oh, is that right?
No, that is not the name of it. Could be.
Thank you. Of course. It's very simple, you know. Well, very good. Congratulations to Trevor Richards and his beautiful fiance. 0-2 to Billy McKinney. It's McKinney, Gurriel, and Morales here in inning number 4. And the second time tonight, Straley has struck out McKinney.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to fpl.com/beattheheat.
2 strikeouts for Straley and both of Billy McKinney. 10 batters through this ball game, and Straley has looked sharp.
Yes, he has.
Got him on the slider in the first and the slider here in the 4th. This is Gurriel taking a call at strike.
Well, we've documented throughout the season how good Dan Straley is. You know, first time, second time, third time through the lineup. He gets better the more he pitches, and he's got a clear-cut advantage. Blue Jays, I mean, what, 30 pitches through 3 innings, and I'd say if you were walking up, every guy's coming back, hey, what's he got? Fastball. Because, I mean, they've all put basically the first pitch they like in play.
There's the first base hit of the ball game for the Jays, as Gurriel finds a hole on the left side. Well, they went 0 for 5 on Wednesday against Baltimore. And snapped a 15-game on-base streak, but coming into tonight was hitting .386 in his last 16. Lowe's whole team together as we focus in on the home run leaders in Major League Baseball. We talked about it in the open. We know where the Orioles are, the Blue Jays are, rather, wrong bird, in the standings. But one thing they do really well is MASH at home, where it's a homer haven at Rogers Center, but also on the road.
Yeah, it's pretty balanced attack, and I think, you know, in some regards, you know, you look at what they've done offensively, and a lot can get lost. It's easy to nitpick and say, okay, well, this team has already been eliminated from the playoffs. It's a troubling season for the Blue Jays. They need to rebuild and trade everybody. But you got to remember, there certainly have been some bright spots on the offensive side of things for this Toronto Blue Jays club, and certainly they're not losing sight of that. But much like we show you those numbers, you know, the flip side to that is that their pitching has been dismal this year, and you can't have that in the American League East. You're not going to go mano-a-mano and slug it out with everybody, particularly the Yankees and the Red Sox, and you can accelerate that conversation forward if you want. I'm talking 2019, 2020, 2021, unless you either acquire some pitching or you know, kind of change your ways.
Well, yeah, or just get guys healthy. We haven't talked about Aaron Sanchez. They haven't really seen a whole heck of a lot from Marcus Stroman, who they certainly have high hopes for. This is Stroman, who pitched to a 3.09 ERA last year. He's pitched in 18 games this year, and when he has pitched, it's a 5.27 ERA.
Well, and I do find it interesting. I mean, you know, you look at the construction of this rotation. Of course, it's dealt with some injuries this year, but as I said earlier on, and this is what the numbers tell you, you know, this team likes to hit the ball in the air. I get that. Doubles, homers, that's who they are. Bit of an American League conversation, but at the same time, their pitchers do a lot of that. You know, Estrada and Sanchez, generally speaking, I mean, you'll see the ball in the air a little bit more with these guys, and that kind of lends itself to potentially giving up a lot of home runs, too. Especially when you mentioned where they play. Rogers Center gives up some home runs.
Morales gives this one a ride. Center field. Sierra is back, and for the second time tonight, Morales has a home run gobbled up by Marlins Park. Tagging up and going to second is Gurriel. He is going to give himself whiplash, shaking his head so hard. That's twice.
He's got to feel like he's on another planet right now.
Jeez.
He's hit over 800 feet of fly balls tonight, and he's 0 for 2.
Nothing to show for it. Middle game of this 3-game set tomorrow night. South Florida Honda dealers present Marlins Live. The pregame show on the air at 6:30. First pitch a little after 7. Craig Minervini, Jeff Nelson. We'll chat with Don Mattingly and get you set for Marco Estrada and Wei-Yin Chen. This is Randall Grichuk. Grichuk, a fly ball out to center field back in the second. Throw goes to second, but Gurriel is back in time. Now, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is the brother of Yulieski Gurriel of the Houston Astros. Those Gurriels and Morales both from Cuba, and that's one of the reasons why Morales got the start tonight at first base. Has some family in town to see him. Typically a designated hitter, as we've talked about before. But he'll get the start tonight and has put a charge into 2 fly balls as Grichuk swings and misses 0-2. That one gets away a few feet from Real Muto. He'll throw down to first to complete the strikeout. Gurriel headed back to second base before that pitch was thrown. A strikeout ends the top of the 4th. Minervini, a scoreless ball game. It'll be Brian Anderson, JT Realmuto, and Derek Dietrich against Aaron Sanchez. Marlins without a hit. They did have a couple of base runners in the first 2 innings, both reaching via the walk. One was caught stealing to end the second inning. We play on to the fourth. Anderson, the recipient of one of those free passes, digs in against Sanchez, whose first pitch is in there for a called strike. That is. I was going to say the spin on that one. Right there at the top of the zone. 0-1. And now Anderson out to center field. Kevin Pillar, a long run, and that one is going to bounce in front of the wall. A leadoff double for Brian Anderson to begin the fourth.
Well, Andy's going to pick on a breaking ball and drive it to deep center field. Boy, oh boy, we've seen a lot of long flyouts tonight. This one is going to find the warning track. Again, the breaking ball, as I mentioned, settles in high in the zone. Anderson, really nice swing. Stays through it. Grabs it up against the center field wall. And a good start here in the fourth inning. I mentioned that second time through, Paul. 7.98 ERA in the fourth inning, 7.50 ERA in the fifth inning for Sanchez, and a good start for the Marlins.
A runner in scoring position for JT Realmuto, who takes a ball. JT reached on a fielder's choice back in the first inning. Jays come to town having lost 7 straight games on the road, 26-40 overall away from Rogers Center. And in that 7-game stretch, they have allowed 9 runs per game.
Well, they've had some issues in their starting staff. Their bullpen has, for the most part, been rather mediocre this season, at least in terms of numbers. Starters ERA 5.18, relievers 4.49. Allowed double-digit hits in 5 straight games coming in.
Manager John Gibbons.
John Gibbons has sat at the helm of this team for an awful long time to come up with a 780 and 773 record. Yeah, that's right. That's well over 1,500 games. He is 7 games over 500. Well, some great seasons in there, some tough ones as well.
Postseasons. A couple of times as Realmuto fouls this one off on the right side. Back-to-back ALCS appearances for the Toronto Blue Jays in 2015 and 2016. Last year, a 4th place finish as JT hits behind the runner and moves Anderson up to third. A productive out number 1 here in the fourth. Steps Derek Dietrich. Blue Jays will bring the infield in. Expecting A, a low-scoring game, or B, not to do much against Straley tonight. He's thrown 44 pitches through 4 innings. 31 of them strikes. On the other side, Sanchez, number 49, in the dirt to Dietrich.
Now, there has been one theme with Sanchez tonight. Now, it hasn't revealed itself in the form of runs scored for the Marlins, but he is falling behind just about every hitter. His fastball has gotten him back into some counts, and he's been able to get it by a few of the Marlins hitters. We'll see if that pattern can keep going. Dietrich ahead 1-0 as well. Mentioned that early on, fastball command could be an issue.
Dietrich couldn't hold up the ball and the strike. Marlins were 4 for 17 with runners in scoring position in Boston. Left 15 runners on base. See if they get this one in. 2-1 to Dietrich.
Nice job right there by Double D. I'll tell you what, Sanchez able to get him to swing over the top a couple of times, even going back to that first at bat at his changeup. We've told you the value that it's had for Sanchez. He threw nearly an identical pitch and left it alone.
Dietrich, a base hit. That'll score Anderson and give the Marlins a 1-0 lead here in the fourth.
And I'll tell you what, Paul, that entire at bat, at least in my opinion, set up by the ability to lay off the changeup down. Sanchez goes to it a third time, but probably says to himself, I need to throw a better changeup. He didn't chase my last one. So let's take a look as this one comes in and settles at the knees. Dietrich able to go down in the zone, level off, and line it into right field for the game's first run.
The leadoff double comes around to score. Marlins with the early lead here in the fourth inning. And now Starlin Castro. Left side, and that one is past the dive of Diaz into left field.
Now this is the two-seam fastball. Inner third. Castro able to pull his hands through and sneak it through the 5-5 hole to the left side. Couple steps to the dive from Diaz. The ball game for Castro on board both times. Walked in the second.
Officially the 100th at bat against Castro, his 22nd. He's got 5 homers and 11 RBIs against Sanchez. And now 2 on 1 out for JT Riddle. Riddle a fly ball out to left field in his first at bat. Tests the gap in left center field. That one will get down. Dietrich around third. Castro to third. And it gets away. No advance beyond that, but an RBI double for JT Riddle, and it's 2-0 Miami.
Yeah, Marlins getting it done in the 4th and 5th inning. The numbers tell you that this should be happening. Good to see that it is. Nice swing from Riddle. I'll tell you, he's had a couple of nice passes tonight against Sanchez. Pulls the hands in, stays inside the baseball, and hits it hard to left. The Marlins are going to gain a huge advantage. McKinney comes up and tries to get Starlin Castro at third base on his heels. Watch this. Almost flat-footed across his body. No shot at Castro. That takes the double play out of order as Riddle's able to move up to second base. So Marlins looking for more. Did a nice job cutting that ball off, but really does not want to go to third in that position. You're not throwing anybody out from your heels.
Officially an RBI single, moves to second. And now Austin Dean has a couple of runners in scoring position. They say second on the throw, no error. Nevertheless, 2 on and 1 out for Dean. He lines one foul, 0-1. Dean a strikeout victim back in the second inning. At this point, the only strikeout for Sanchez. And on the hand, slow roller to short. Only play is at first. And a run will come in on the ground out. 3-0 Miami.
It's interesting this inning, Paul. The 2 outs have been slow rollers to short, both fielded by Gurriel on the out. made at first base, but both have been incredibly productive outs because there's been no velocity on the ball. Realmuto's slow roller to short.
And Magnauri's Sierra, albeit intentional, has drawn his first walk of the year. Had not walked since being called up in late July. He is on first and third. Dan Straley is at the plate. A leadoff double for Brian Anderson, a ground out for Realmuto. RBI single for Dietrich. Castro a single. RBI single for Riddle, RBI ground out for Dean, and then the intentional walk, and Marlins have themselves a 3-0 lead. Strike at the top of the zone. 0-2 to Straley, who has 5 hits and 30 at bats this year. Called strike 3. They have gotten the benefit of that call, but the Marlins get 3 runs in the 4th inning. Miami Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. The Cleveland Clinic. Stiff joints, aches and pains, trust Cleveland Clinic Florida, the #1 orthopedic care in Florida. And by Simply Healthcare, live the Simply life. A 3-0 Marlins lead as we move to the top of the 5th inning. 3 across for Miami in the bottom of the 4th inning. Not a bad way to spend Game of Thrones night here at the ballpark. Dragons, the Lions, the Blue Jays, the Marlins. As we play on. Pilar, Jansen, and Diaz in the 5th against Straley. Fouled back by Pilar. 0-1. Pilar with a ground out to third in his first at bat.
We've been keeping our eye on the waiver wire tonight. Certainly worth noting here in South Florida, Gio Gonzalez has switched clubhouses, in fact.
That's right.
Well, the Nationals and the Brewers Soft line drive to JT for out number 1 here in the top of the 5th. Has changed clubhouses. Gio is going from the Nationals, there you go, to the Brewers. Well, I'll tell you what, that's certainly going to lift his spirits. He's jumped right into a pennant race. He's got an opportunity to do some potential postseason pitching if he can help get the Brewers there.
It sounds like a simple thing to say, like, well, a change of scenery could do him well. But do you think it could?
Well, listen, and I definitely can speak to this. Now, everybody's change of scenery is different because some guys love it, some guys maybe they don't. There were a couple of times where I was on the fence on both. But the point is this. What I can guarantee you is this. He's in a pennant chase. That should light a fire underneath him. He has been a competitor his entire career. He's had a very, very nice run. Obviously, his time kind of winding down, it seems like, maybe with the Nationals. But the point is that, yeah, he's thrust into a position where every start matters. Every pitch out of his hand is going to count a little bit more. And I think in his mind, it brings back that fire or that edge if in fact he did lose a little bit just by the mere fact that the Nationals have been hovering around 500 all season long. I love talking about it like this pitches all the time. You jump divisions or jump leagues, all of a sudden they get a new perspective. All of a sudden they start dealing. Right. Cole Hamels. Oh,
has he given up a hit since going to the Cubs?
Well, listen. Right. Goes to the Cubs. Now he had great history pitching in that ballpark, as everybody well knew. You know, no hitter there, and pitched well there in the National League. But was having a mediocre season, was he not?
Yeah.
Things weren't going his way in Texas. ERA up over 4. All of a sudden, he just comes right back to him. I mean, yeah, he's barely got an ERA. He's barely given up a hit, to your point.
Kevin Gausman was another one of those guys.
Right.
Jumped, what did he jump? 30, 50 games in the standings, whatever it was. When he went from the Orioles to the Atlanta Braves. Of course, the waiver deadline is tonight at midnight. And as we have talked a little bit throughout this ball game, that there is the possibility that the Jays could and perhaps will move Josh Donaldson, who just started his rehab assignment not long ago. Thanks, Straley. Can't get into anything. Another 9-pitch inning. Now keep it going, Dan. We'll talk more when we come back. Welcome back to Marlins Park. That is not Josh Donaldson. He is just a fan. Josh Donaldson still in the Blue Jays organization for now, according to Jeff Passan of Yahoo Sports. This was about an hour ago that he tweeted out that according to sources, the Jays have told multiple teams that they expect to trade Donaldson before the midnight deadline. He then went on to say the teams that have shown interest in Donaldson, per the sources, the Yankees, the Astros, the Indians, the Braves, and the Phillies, and others could jump in. Again, that midnight deadline coming up in about 3.5 hours as we check in with Craig Minerini.
And Paul, on that note, he's had a calf injury. He's been injured. Only played 36 games this year with 5 home runs, but was a key cog here when they got him and helped him get to the ALCS back-to-back years. Only a few years ago. He's still only 32. It's a $23 million contract, about $4 million left. The Yankees do not want to eat all that money. So if the Jays eat a lot of that, that means usually you get a lesser prospect. The crazy thing this week, they finally got him back on the field as the minor league season was running out, but they got a rain out in Dunedin the other night, so he played 1 game, 5 innings. Couldn't play, but last night he did homer over in Dunedin, and that was a good sign as they're trying to trade him at this point, at least get something back from him. We'll see. But as you said, they expect to trade him before midnight tonight, and if they do that before tonight, then of course he can play in the playoffs if one of those teams should advance.
Yeah, got to get into the organization before September 1st to be eligible for the postseason roster. Craig, thanks so much. So Donaldson, of course, won the AL MVP in 2015 with the Toronto Blue Jays. Another MVP was dealt either late last night or early morning, depending on the actual finalizing of that deal. But Andrew McCutchen going from the San Francisco Giants to the New York Yankees. So if Donaldson ends up with the Yankees, they'll have, well, it seems like the last 15 MVPs on that club. They've, of course, got Stanton, and they've now got McCutchen and perhaps Josh Donaldson as well. But McCutchen, his 3rd different team in the last calendar year.
Power and numbers. I think McCutchen certainly will benefit from playing at Yankee Stadium as opposed to playing out in San Francisco, one of the tougher ballparks to play in. Kind of look at McCutchen, I think East Coast more than West Coast. It's not really you know, the reason I would give for zoning in on why he's going to succeed with the Yankees.
A fair ball down the left field line. This one's going to get to the corner and should be the 2nd double of the game for Brian Anderson. He doubled in the 4th. He doubles again in the 5th. Geico presents this day in Major League history. Kind of Marlins history, kind of Yankees history. Don Mattingly's number 23 retired on the wall at Monument Park, Yankee Stadium. Yankee captain from 1991 to 1995. It was the first number to be retired without winning a World Series. It seems like in the grand scheme of Yankee history, the time that Mattingly was on the roster, just 1 trip to the postseason, and that was as a wild card in 1995. He then stepped away from the game at the beginning of the 96 season. Yankees won a World Series then, 98, 99, 2000. But, on this date, 1997, number 23 retired in the Bronx. There's JT Realmuto. And to finish that point, speaking of the Bronx, on Andrew McCutchen, the whole reason for them to go out and get another outfielder was because of what we talked about last week when the Yankees were in town. Aaron Judge and his timetable of getting back from that broken wrist, perhaps a little bit slower than they had thought. So that's why McCutchen is heading from the Giants to the Yankees.
Well, you also have some outfield depth and now versatility with McCutchen, who has, through almost all his years in Pittsburgh, was a center fielder, can play right, can play left a little bit, so I think he can do a few different things. Of course, I think he'll fit right in. A little leadership, even if you want, to you know, to their push for the postseason. I don't think he's going to have to push very hard.
No. He'll get a game.
That's right.
They'll get at least a game. If they'll catch Boston or not, but they'll, looks like at least get a wild card. And then on the National League side of things, the Nationals making not only the move sending Gio Gonzalez to the Brewers, but also Ryan Madsen ending up in Los Angeles. JT Realmuto a base hit up the middle. That will score Brian Anderson and give the Marlins a 4-0 lead.
Isn't it amazing how the numbers just sometimes play themselves out? Rattled off, earned run average. Sanchez, the 4th and 5th innings, and once again he has done it now. Remember, Anderson started off last inning crushing a breaking ball to center field up against the wall. JT Realmuto drives in run number 4 on a breaking ball. This one down just a bit. Nice in-swing adjustment by JT Realmuto, who drives in another run, his 67th on the season. Each RBI continues to add to his seasonal career high.
It's outside to Dietrich, who had an RBI single in the 4th. Just kind of hooked one into right field, scored a run, and that got the Marlins on the board. Blowing in to Dietrich. 2 balls and no strikes. Action in the Blue Jays bullpen as the righty Barnes begins to throw.
Well, we mentioned it, and I'm guessing this is probably what Sanchez has battled most of this season, as well as the finger injury, falling behind hitters. He's done it just all night long. The question is, would the Marlins finally capitalize? Well, they have here in the 4th and 5th.
And a base hit into left field for Dietrich. He's gone to right. Now he goes to left. 2 on 1 out for the Marlins in the 5th.
Two-seam fastball tailing away. Good approach if you're a lefty. Think the other way. There's a lot of late movement on the Sanchez fastball. That sinker. Try to pull it. More than likely going to roll over it. Good job lining it to left. Looks like going to have a little meeting on the mound with Sanchez.
A rough couple of innings for Sanchez, but it's been rough for the Blue Jays starters during this 7-game road losing streak. Their starters have pitched to an ERA of 12.67 coming into tonight. Their starters have not been great at setting the tone.
Certainly not. Sanchez was cruising along first 3 innings for 8, a couple of walks. Innings 4 and 5, 7 hits, 4 runs. The Marlins are now 7 for their last 11 against Sanchez.
Castro fouls it off his foot. Looks like he's all right, thankfully. 0-1, a walk and a caught stealing in the 2nd for Castro. A single and a run scored in the 4th. Called strike. 2 to Castro. Castro entered the day tied for 4th in the National League with 61 2-strike hits. Backs away from that one, even up the count at 2-2. Realmuto at 2nd, Dietrich over at 1st. Another run in for the Marlins here in the 5th. And Sanchez delivers upstairs. And another two-strike hit for Castro into right field. Realmuto coming around. He'll score. Not just a two-strike hit, but an RBI. And it's 5-0 Miami.
'62nd two-strike hit here in the 2018 season for Starlin Castro. Boy, he puts together some great at-bats, even deep in counts. Stays inside the two-seamer. Doesn't crush it to right, drives it to right. Sometimes I tell you, Paul, hitting it soft is better than hitting it hard. That gets JT Realmuto across the plate. Pick up that RBI.
Castro knocks out Sanchez. Florida Lottery call to the bullpen here at Marlins Park. Out. A pitching change for the Jays. The new Monopoly jackpot scratch-offs from the Florida Lottery are a new spin on a classic. They're loaded with prizes from $10,000 to $2 million. So unleash the excitement anytime. The Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly. So it's Danny Barnes out of the Blue Jays bullpen. 38th game for Barnes this year at the big league level. And a strike to JT Riddle.
Yeah, recently recalled. 27th of August. It's been up and down a bit this season. Four-seam fastball, changeup and slider. Changeup primary, secondary pitch.
Riddle an RBI single in the 4th inning. 1 for 2.
He's inherited 24 base runners this season. 16 have scored.
He's got 2 more out there. See if Riddle can cash him in.
I brought it up.
Inside 2-1.
Last pitch a couple of days ago in Baltimore. 2/3 of an inning, a couple of hits, a couple of earned runs.
Well, Sanchez was cruising through the first 3 innings. And then the Marlins got to him. He kind of laid it out at the beginning of the game, given the scouting report that maybe that second time through could be a chance to open the game up a little bit. And did the Marlins ever do that? 5 runs, 8 hits, and they're still not done.
8 hits in their last 12 at-bats against Sanchez. I mean, listen, sometimes the numbers jump off the page and they catch your attention. There's really no explaining it. I mean, I'm not sure I would necessarily kind of bet on it, if you know what I mean. But when you see stuff like that, clearly there's something to it. We saw a number of pitches out over the plate. We saw a few hanging breaking balls. I think that first time through the lineup for Sanchez, he was really just attacking with the fastball. We mentioned that he was falling behind some hitters, but the outs that he was getting still was on the 94, 95 mile an hour two-seamer. Really didn't open up the secondary game plan. Now, the second time through, he didn't serve him well.
Riddle in the air, left field. Playable for McKinney, and that is out number 2. Time for the Chevrolet Prospect Spotlight. Monte Harrison and Brian Scales. This year with the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp Southern League postseason All-Stars. Congratulations to both of those guys. Career highs for Scales, a 262 average, 358 on base percentage. How about 19 homers, 48 ribbies, and 28 stolen bases for Monte Harrison. Run over in that trade with the Milwaukee Brewers. Scored 84 runs this year, so congratulations to those two Marlins minor leaguers. Here's Austin Dean. Takes that one outside for ball 1. Dean a strikeout and an RBI ground out.
We were talking a little McCutcheon a little earlier ago, going over to the Yankees. I'd like to know his numbers in the American League versus the American League.
Hit me.
I'll give you his triple slash line: 294, 387, 476, and 864 OPS. And I'm not talking a small sample size. He's made 169 starts since the American League.
Season's worth.
Sure. Solid numbers: 23 homers, 107 RBIs.
And evidently he's already shaved as well. They have that facial hair policy in the Bronx. He had a little, I don't know, beard, goatee, something. He's already, I already saw the picture. Took a selfie. Three balls and no strikes to Austin Dean, with Dietrich at second and Castro at first. Called strike. Those two runners are the responsibility of Aaron Sanchez, who left after 4 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. And on 3-2, said runners will get a head start. Right off the mask of Danny Jansen. Runners go. Payoff pitch is popped up right side of the infield. Devin Travis camped underneath it for out number 3. The Iron Throne in the house. 5 runs on the board for the Marlins. Game of Thrones night here at Marlins Park, and Miami in control. A 5-0 lead. Dan Straley's first pitch in there for a called strike to Devin Travis. They're part of the Game of Thrones thing, I think. I don't know if they are just normal fans that showed up to the ballpark. That guy means business. That's kind of how you look like 5 minutes before a game starts when you get that game face on.
That's right.
Get in your zone. You know, try to ask you about your day. You say, no, not now. Scouting report 5 minutes.
Not 5 minutes before the game.
Travis pops this one up. That will reach the seats.
Right about that time where I start talking to the mirror. Bring your A game. Bring your A game.
First time I saw it, I was like, wow, this guy's really kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I was like, all right, he's kind of weird.
Because he brings it. And he really does. He tries to bring his A game.
Well, Straley's got his A game tonight.
Sure does.
1 hit through 5 1/3.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to fpl.com/beattheheat.
Well, Curtis Granderson off the bench for the Toronto Blue Jays. We talked a lot about Josh Donaldson and what could happen by midnight tonight if he is dealt by the Blue Jays. Curtis Granderson is another one of those Blue Jays who could be on the move. Trying to get some kind of value for Granderson, who takes a called strike.
That's why Dan Straley threw him a first pitch curveball. That's right. There's a lot of history here. Sixth pinch hit this season. Granderson, 6 for 19 now on the year.
Well, Granderson's former team, the Detroit Tigers, actually two of his former teams, the Tigers and the Yankees, matching up tonight. Built for Baseball is presented to you by T-Mobile. Nico Goodrum with a solo home run. And on the other side, the pitcher, Jordan Zimmerman, is out-dueling Luis Severino. Not just out-dueling him, but has not given up a hit as they play in the bottom of the 6th in the Bronx.
No McCutchen, no hit.
That's right. That is correct. 17 up and 17 down for Zimmerman. Now, it's not like Severino's been bad. 10 strikeouts, no walks tonight. But
He's your half brother.
of course, I got to
Just picking up
carry the
family
water
all the
for
time.
him. You know what I mean?
You're and it was like a couple weeks ago. It was like 4 innings, 6 earned runs. You're like, yeah, you know, he's just not
so bad.
A little bit off, but
Those
not too bad.
peripherals there.
That's right.
That first pitch strike percentage.
He had 6 strikeouts.
I'm just happy people can now pronounce my last name because of him.
Hey, that's right.
Because of him. Sorvino, Savino. Some of my closest friends call me Reno.
That's right.
Two balls and a strike to Billy McKinney. Now, McKinney came over to the Blue Jays from the Yankees in the deal that sent Jay Happ to the Bronx. It was McKinney along with Brandon Drury to Toronto. But McKinney and Straley were once dealt for one another back in 2014, July 4th, 2014. Traded to the Cubs for Addison Russell and Dan Straley in exchange for Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill. And a couple of years later, as McKinney lines one out to left field, that will get down, bobbled by Dean, and throw goes into second. McKinney takes the extra base. Second and third, one out for the Jays.
Well, that little bit of a bobble is going to cost the Marlins. He does a nice job reading it off the bat. This changeup stays up, stays on it, didn't pull off. See that head really down through the swing. Lines into the left center field gap. His first hit. About McKinney. Owned him the first 2 times up, a couple of strikeouts. Kind of seen that ball back up a number of times out in left. It's the Second time tonight we've seen the left fielders struggle. Now that ball is coming off the turf. A double for McKinney. Came in hot, 11 games with the Jays, 364 coming into tonight, 3 homers, 10 RBIs.
And now Gurriel fouls that one back. So just to finish that thought on McKinney, he's been traded right around the deadline or in July every couple of years. In 2014, mentioned the one with Straley, and then 2 years later to the Yankees along with Adam Warren, Gleyber Torres, and Rashad Crawford for Aroldis Chapman. And then the trade a couple of weeks back. So check back in 2020. See where he's headed in July.
Probably like to set up shop, call somewhere a home, huh?
Perhaps. Gurriel out to deep right field. There will be room for Ortega, but that plenty deep to score the run and advance McKinney. 5-1 on the sac fly. And just to follow up on that Zimmerman no-hitter talk, totally jinxed it because well, Brett Gardner hit a home run right after an error. So yeah, they've got the home run. It's 3-2 now. Morales came close to a home run in his first and second at bats tonight. 2 long fly balls out to center field. He bats here in the 6th with a runner on 3rd and 2 out.
All right, both his hits tonight. First one 101 miles an hour off the bat, second one 102. So kind of right in line with what Morales had been doing coming into Miami. Talked about the 7 consecutive game homer streak. 764 feet worth of outs. 2 deep drives to center field. Australia looking to be very careful here.
Outside, 3 balls and a strike with Randall Grichuk on deck. Double-barreled action for the Toronto Blue Jays as Murphy Smith and Joe Biagini loosen. Whoa, whoa, look out. Thank goodness for the netting. Luke Maley wanted it. Thought he had that one for a second.
Well, he was looking to catch the ricochet. Said it didn't have enough pine tar on it. Well, Kendrys Morales is thinking the same thing. See, it comes off the netting, and thank goodness for it. You're absolutely right. It's one thing we've all kind of said. Hey, listen, we got to get nets over these dugouts. If somebody's going to get hurt. It wasn't just the balls. More times than not, it was the bats.
Yeah, they come helicoptering in. Move in all sorts of directions.
We talk exit velocity all the time, and I remember this because we used to do this back in the way back. But you talk how hard a major leaguer swings a bat. I mean, you're talking exit velocities even with the bat in that 90+ mile an hour range, right? I'm trying to catch that.
Chopper. Castro will feed Straley. A run in for the Jays, but that's it. 5-1 Marlins through 5½. Taking part in something really special today at Magneris, Sierra, and several of the Marlins better halves this afternoon. Painting projects at Alex's place at Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center and at Holtz Children's Hospital. So brightening the days of kids. Really cool to go in there and just kind of say hello, spend a little bit of the time. Awesome stuff. And then tomorrow, just a reminder that the Marlins in Major League Baseball are joining up to fight against childhood cancer tomorrow night. Marlins taking on the Jays here. So arrive early, receive a Go Gold hat. A portion of the proceeds will benefit local childhood cancer organizations in South Florida. You can visit marlins.com/gogold today.
I believe the players will be wearing the gold ribbon.
That is correct.
As well.
And there is Sierra, who was taking part in that amazing activity today. He'll lead it off. Dan Straley next. And Rafael Ortega, 8-9-1 for the Marlins. A 4-run cushion here in the 6th inning. Cut on and missed. The offering from Murphy Smith, third pitcher of the night for the Jays. Pitching in just his 3rd game this season. Called up on the 27th. Made his major league debut with an inning and a third of scoreless baseball against the Baltimore Orioles. Ground out and a walk. First of the season, first of the Marlins career by Sierra. Took a little while, and it was intentional.
He's working towards that first one he earns. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know, if you get a first blooper hit and you're like, yeah, I'm still working towards the first real one. Okay, not taking anything away from it. Believe me, they're hard enough to get, but you know what I mean.
Balls and 2 strikes to Sierra. It was Sanchez that started the game, 4 1/3. He gave up 5 runs. And then Barnes came in to get the last 2 outs of the 5th inning before giving way to Smith. That one off of Smith. Dies in the middle of the infield. We'll see if Smith's okay. Sierra will reach on the base hit.
Take another look. Hopper kind of catches him on that, what, right heel?
So
Shays towards short. Talk about this time and time again. Pick it clean with Sierra Robin. Really got no play at first. Sierra continued to work towards that hard contact on the ground as much as anything. It's a pretty good example of it right there. First hit of the ball game for Sierra.
Now Straley squares to bunt, and all he can do is just kind of get out of the way of that one. That was up and in. He fouled it off. One more look. Oh, and it got his finger.
Your hand is part of the bat, so they're going to call it a foul ball. That's kind of how that one goes.
Yeah, but that's also his right index and middle finger that got pinched up against the bat.
Watch it kind of wobble.
Yeah, and he's being tended to right now by trainer Mike Kozak. The Marlins are going to challenge this.
With you on that. I've kind of already thrown it out there. There have been different times, you know, like
well, a couple of things at play here. One is the challenge, and 2 would be the health of Straley, because Those are his. Let's get the spray, the all-important spray. And the thumbs up.
Yeah, there it is. We're good. We get the thumbs up with the cold spray. There you go, Paul. We're good.
Those are his pitching fingers.
Hey, man, the cold spray. You got the cold spray all as well. Nothing to worry about. We've had a running joke with a few of the players about the cold spray. All right. Oh man, this is the I mess this one up all the time, Paul. I really do. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen it a number of times, right? So if you kind of check your swing sometimes and you get a ball off your finger that's in your hands, part of the bat, right? Well, is this not exactly what we just witnessed? I mean, he's bunting, clearly kind of turns into it just a little bit now. At the same time, starts to get out of the way, but hits his finger. We know that. Gets first base. Bring up Rafael Ortega. Listen, we just gotta have fun.
Well, they're
telling you, man.
I'll tell you what, there's going to be there's something we're missing. I'm not above admitting when I'm wrong. We'll get an email on that momentarily, and we'll explain it. We'll probably both at the same time say, "Well, of course, makes all the sense in the world." Well, brain hiccup there for a second. Well. Nevertheless, Marlins have 2 on and nobody out for the top of the order. Ortega looking for his first hit of the game.
He's got a hit in 14 of his 18 starts this season, as you mentioned. Has not been part of this hot offense over the last couple of innings for his first hit of the night.
Sends this one in the air, deep right center field. Back to make the play is Grichuk, and tagging, heading to third, is Sierra. Spray worked. I guess that's what matters. You worry, you need to touch the feel of those fingers. Does it completely numb them, and for how long?
It's kind of been our thing this year, you and me. You know, you're big on the cold spray, and I'm like anti-cold spray. But apparently, I mean, he's happy. I mean, that's all that matters.
I'm just worried about, you know, the top of the 7th inning, and he's going to go out there. He's going to have a feel for the pitches. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Cold spray's funny stuff. I'm going to spray it on you. I'm going to spray it on your arm tomorrow. See what it does.
I could probably use it. It's a little toasty up here.
A little too warm up here, so you're going to use
it. It is, yeah.
The cold spray
like
to cool down.
Spray on deodorant.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it's
not
for,
how it works.
But that would be funny.
Cool down the body temperature.
Sure, okay.
Choked down an ice cream sandwich before the game started. I needed to lower my body temperature.
That's right. Brian Anderson, the best in the National League when it comes to this in-game situation. Runners in scoring position. 383 leads the National League. His 41 hits leads the National League as well. 2 doubles. That's the second time he's done that this season. 4th time in his career. Back to the Giants back in June. Had a 2-double game as well. It's been on his game tonight. Take by Anderson on a breaking ball in the dirt.
So 3-1 on Anderson. We have some clarification on what happened with Dan Straley. It's ruled a hit by pitch, and it all comes down to whether or not he was offering at the bunt. So whether or not it was technically a swing or not. If you get hit on the hand and don't offer,
right,
then it's a hit by pitch.
Well,
if you offer, then it is part of the bat.
You know, it's so funny because you kind of, you feel like you know the answer, but you're not 100% sure about it. And I felt like in the back of I remember hearing that it has to do with intent, and it has to be read by basically the umpire. So watch. Dan Straley 100% intends to bunt this pitch until right about there, when he decides that that's not in my best interest any longer. I need to start getting out of the way. And as he does, gets hit on that right finger. Of course, go back to instant replay or review, as we will, and you see that he's getting out of the way and gets hit by pitch.
Makes sense.
Matter of interpretation. Well, we've seen it. I mean, we've seen it called both ways a number of times, at least a couple of times this year on check swings. You know, a guy will raise his finger and basically you've got to decide whether or not it's not hit by, did he swing at it? Did he offer at it?
Well, one of the most perhaps unfortunate instances of that, was it a swing and hit by pitch, was Giancarlo Stanton. That night that he got hit by a Mike Fiers pitch, hit in the face in Milwaukee, he said he went around. So he was ruled a strike. I mean, that it's certainly not funny. It's more just a play on words, but insult to injury. Bases are loaded for JT Realmuto. Had an RBI single in the 5th. Grounds this one to Gurriel. The flip to Travis and over to first, and inning-ending double play. 6 innings in the books. See if that cold spray can cool off Dan Straley. Hope not. Right, it is Game of Thrones night, and cricket gives us something to smile about. Fans showing up, spending time with the Iron Throne. Camera guys working hard in their dire wolves and lions and dragons shirts. That's how Minervini shows up to work every day in a suit of armor. He usually takes it off for the pre and the post game show, but probably worried about the fans. Did you see that piece on the inside the Marlins, or excuse me, Marlins clubhouse?
Did.
It's pretty good. Just trying to get you down these roads.
Yeah, no, I don't fall for that. You know that.
You know. Dan Straley, 6 crisp innings of work. 2nd straight outing in which he has gone 6 innings and been very, very good. 6 scoreless last time out. That was against the Atlanta Braves. In fact, 6 innings the time prior to that. Gave up 5 runs to the Washington Nationals. But 6 innings and a run, no walks tonight either.
Yeah, and that's what you love to see. If you go back to his last start against the Atlanta Braves, only 1 walk. So great stuff. The command and control, we talk about it all the time. Command in the strike zone, good pitchers strikes. Attacking the strike zone. At times we've seen that as well. The ability to lead off the sequence with a breaking ball. He's really had all 3 pitches working. Go back a couple of starts.
Quickly 0-2 to Randall Grichuk. Fly out and a strikeout. Did he go? They say no. Now, Grichuk came into this ball game having reached base in 15 of his previous 22 plate appearances, but 0 for 2 tonight. little low. And the count runs full. Just 3 hits tonight against Straley. A Gurriel single in the 4th. A Granderson pinch hit single in the 6th, followed by a McKinney double. This one hugs the line, but it is foul, says Mike Winters, the third base umpire. So we were right all along. We kept plugging this night, talking about Game of Thrones, and as it turns out, Winters is coming to Marlins Park in the form of the third base umpire. I will see myself out.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Way back. Oh, and plenty of air underneath it. He kind of watched it go 20 feet over his head and then moseyed back to make the play for the first out in the 7th.
I think many of the Marlins outfielders are chuckling inside tonight as they drop step and make their way back to the warning track and have secured many a catch. Ha ha ha, Toronto Blue Jays.
Jays 182 home runs this season, 4th best in baseball. That's not to say that they haven't given a few a ride throughout the night, but to this point, none have cleared the wall. Strike to Kevin Pillar.
So the read should have gone, Winters is coming, plural.
Exactly. If we knew what we were doing, that's what we would have done. But
Well said.
you know,
Sounds like our excuse for the hit by pitch on Straley.
that's right.
We knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
Great changeup. Straley, boy oh boy, has he had it working tonight. Talk about those splits again, not ball to strike splits. Kind of how Dan has been sequencing over his last couple of starts, almost 50-50 off speed to that fastball, and boy, those secondary pitches have been great.
Backhanded by Anderson. Strong throw to get Pillar. 2 outs. Danny Jansen 0 for 2 tonight. Did he hold up? 1-0. Misses a little low, so it sounds as though we're starting to get some rumblings on what's going on with Josh Donaldson. Evidently, it sounds like the Cleveland Indians are the landing spot as Jansen works the walk. So according to Jeff Passan of Yahoo Sports, he quotes sources. Josh Donaldson has been told that he's been traded to the Cleveland Indians. Knew that would probably happen by midnight. Now they've got a guy over there at third base in Jose Ramirez who's certainly in the mix for an MVP award this year. And you got Lindor over there at short. So Ledmus Diaz flies this one out to shallow right center field. Castro gives way to Ortega. We'll all ponder where Donaldson fits into the Indians mix when we come back. At the bottom of the 7th inning, Dan Straley has been terrific tonight. Let's go to Washington, D.C. Bonefish Grill, fresh catch of the day. Maybe a fresh throw and tag. Jesus Aguilar over there at first base, and then delivers it to Eric Kratz, who makes the tag on Juan Soto. Got him. Couldn't quite get that oven mitt to home plate.
I gotta tell you what, I'm not gonna bring this up in South Miami, but that looks like blocking the plate to me. You didn't see much of a lane there, did you?
I didn't.
I guess maybe between the leg. Maybe that's where they were deciding that there was the lane was underneath that leg that was kind of in the way. Of course, it wasn't down on the ground. Soto tried to make his way to the back door.
I mean, I don't know. Let's go down that road of not knowing what this slide rule at home plate is.
It's the theme tonight. I just keep bringing it up.
Right, I got you.
Stump us. Stump ourselves.
Tim Meza comes in out of the Blue Jays bullpen, his 24th game. He'll face Dietrich, Castro, and Riddle. And Dietrich fouls the first one back. A couple of hits tonight for Dietrich. An RBI single in the 4th, came around to score as well, and added another hit in the 5th inning.
Dietrich's had a very nice night. Line drive to right, mentioned. Line drive to left. Last time he was busy facing a lefty, he was taking him deep in the form of David Price.
Which stays up the middle or pulls. 20% to the left side of the infield. That's why there's only one Blue Jay over there.
Right. I know we love to show fans at home how he hits the ball on the ground, but is that broken up to lefties and righties?
Oh, jeez.
I mean, listen, we're on fire. I might as well just hit a basket. Questions we can't answer.
Dude, I talk to the graphics. I don't build them, okay? I don't know. That could be on Tuesdays for all I know.
I asked, man. Look, 20% to the left side. But see, I'd be willing to bet against the lefty, he hits more balls to the left side. That's where I'm going with it.
Hearing people throw things at the walls of the truck as we speak.
I do that to people.
Down the left field line. And McKinney will run out of room. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes to Dietrich.
I don't doubt for half a second I have that effect on me. That's why my questions are great and perplexing at the same time. Misa, four-seam fastball, throws hard, 94, 95 miles an hour. Also throws the slider about 40% of the time. That's what lefties are going to get.
So we went to break with the report that Josh Donaldson has been dealt from these Blue Jays to the Cleveland Indians. He's trying to figure out kind of where he would fit in. Now, again, this is not, at the moment at least, the Josh Donaldson who won an MVP award a couple of years ago. Dietrich grounds out for the first out in the 7th inning. This is a guy who hasn't played much in the big leagues, who is coming off, what, less than a handful of rehab games. I mean, you wonder, A, what he's got left in the tank for this last month and perhaps postseason, and where he fits in Cleveland. Well, I don't think he's playing every day, even if he were healthy.
I don't think that anybody out there was necessarily considering that. I think in his instance, in this instance with Donaldson having missed so much time over the last 2 seasons, obviously the Toronto. Listen, I heard you could argue that the Blue Jays were going to bring him back and give him a qualifying offer. Yeah, he'd take it.
Yeah.
He'd take that qualifying offer and go back to the Blue Jays. That would be 3 potential seasons where you're just not sure what you're getting. Of course, everybody's kind of dreaming back to what 2015, 2016, that where he was the best third baseman in the game of baseball. That hasn't been the case for the last 2 seasons. Now, what are you gambling on here? Even the Yankees couldn't get too far involved with the Jays because they weren't going to go over their cap number. So I think he's got about $4 million left. The reports that were coming out of New York were, yeah, well, we'd love to take him, under certain circumstances. You're going to have to pay some of his salary. Cleveland Indians, it's a flyer. You got the opportunity to get something great. Maybe it turns into something great. Maybe it doesn't at all. I mean, but at the same time, they're in a position to find out, and I think that's where you go with this. I mean, I would be shocked. Does he get 100 at-bats in September? No. Do they have, and I'll go here with you. They may be the perfect landing spot for Donaldson. Here's why. they have the biggest lead in the division. They're going to win their division quicker than anybody in baseball. They don't have to have the best record. We were just talking about this the other day, the American League Central. They're going to win that division. They're going to afford him some playing time. They're going to be able to give it to him because you're going to rest some guys and get ready for the postseason. He makes the most sense. Then you really find out what you got. I mean, what major league team out there is going to give a team that you're playing big games, ready to give Donaldson the starting third baseman job? I mean, that's not happening.
And without the Indian schedule right in front of me, I would imagine that they've got a good chunk of the Central coming up in the month of September as well. Castro, left center field. That one's going to get down and one hop the wall. Starlin on his way to second base with a one-out double here in the 7th. And that's Castro's 3rd hit of the game. He's been on base all 4 times.
Well, he continues to add to his 2-strike hit total on the season. 63rd hit, 2 strikes. And again, a breaking ball at the bottom of the zone. Nice job going down and getting it, driving it off the left center field wall. I mean, I can't help but chuckle a little bit. You think about defensive positioning. The Marlins have been all over the place tonight, catching long fly balls, and the Marlins have been the ones finding the gaps as far as the hits. See this ball down. And another double for the Marlins. 10 hits tonight. All from the 4th inning on.
JT Riddle a chance for another RBI. Had a ribby single back in the 4th inning. Right side, may have broken his bat. Careful stepping around that first base bag as Riddle is retired for out number 2.
Well, with the Starlin Castro double, it's allowed the Marlins to reach double digits. Slow roller to the right side. Toronto Blue Jays have now allowed double-digit hits in 6 straight ball games.
There's Austin Dean. That one gets to the backstop and comes right back. How about that? Right back to Jansen. But it was a hit by pitch. Okay. Well, now the Blue Jays are going to wait and see. Let's take a look slow-mo.
Now, this is a hit by pitch. It's going to catch him in the back foot. Yeah, right there in the toe.
Yeah.
That's what actually redirects the baseball. And you're right. I mean, it came flying back, but those of us that saw the hit by pitch probably kind of didn't really react to Castro coming in at home. I kind of saw it that way the whole time, but felt the energy of the play that was developing at home plate. Here comes Starlin Castro. He certainly doesn't know.
Yeah. Well, I was with Starlin. My eyes were
right. Well, I saw that little
up.
redirect, and I kind of was playing off Dean because he just tossed his bat aside and started walking to first base. And I kept thinking, well, this isn't a live ball, is it?
I don't like Game of Thrones tonight. I'll tell you what, there's been too many weird things happening tonight. Weird stuff.
It's funny you should say that because I think it's absolutely outstanding.
This iron thrown out of town.
I don't know if it's the throne thing.
Crazy thing.
I just think it's Friday night.
Is that what is a full moon? Who knows? I mean, Sierra never walks. He's got to walk tonight. We've had hit by pitches that weren't, hit by pitches that were, wild pitches all over the place. Sharply hit to first. Morales steps on the bag, and we move to the 8th inning. Marlins have themselves a 5-1 lead here at Marlins Park.
Dream team in franchise mode, plus get weekly stats, roster updates, and more. RBI Baseball 18 is available now. Learn more at RBIGame.com. Rated E for everyone.
First pitch of the inning from Dan Straley to Devin Travis, fouled back to the screen. One defensive change for the Marlins. Miguel Rojas in for Derek Dietrich over at first base. Straley at 90 pitches. And 0-2 to Travis, who is 0-4-2. 1 run, 3 hits through 7 innings of work to this point for Straley, who is pitching in the 8th inning for the first time this year. Travis fouls this one away. Teoscar Hernandez has moved into the on-deck circle. Pitcher spot due up next. And then top of the order, Billy McKinney, who up third this inning. Fourth time this year that Straley has gone at least 7 innings in a start.
Well, it's undeniable. Certainly after the hit by pitch. Certainly worried about whether or not his changeup slider would be working. Chalk went up for the cold spray.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Kind of gutted through.
Out to center field. Sierra with a beat on it for out number 1. Time for T-Mobile. Hats off for heroes. Chris Rowley of the Toronto Blue Jays served 5 years in active duty. Became the first West Point graduate to play in the major leagues and made his major league debut last August with the Toronto Blue Jays. Off waivers by the Jays from Texas. Swung on and missed by Hernandez. 0-1.
Hernandez 1 for 8 pinch hitting this season. His career 1 for 14.
To Teoscar Hernandez. Takes one in the dirt. The highest strikeout percentage on the team. 31.3%. Does have 18 home runs and 46 RBIs. The lefty Conley, the righty second rider. Australia is approaching 100 pitches.
It feels like Dan hasn't thrown too many fastballs tonight. Boy, that changeup, so much depth in the strike zone. The slider, absolutely outstanding, and the aggressiveness of the Toronto Blue Jays, it hasn't changed much. They continued to swing the bat early.
Center field for Sierra. I think by Sunday afternoon, the Blue Jays will realize they've got to hit it in a line, on a line, to get out of this ball.
Well, and that's what's so interesting. I was just going back through the box score tonight. That's the 9th fly ball out, just between left and center field. Most of them right-handed hitters. To that point, if we're talking about Dan Straley tonight, he has thrown nearly 50% sliders, not even using that four-seam fastball as much. 37%. It has been a slider show, if you will. See another one. First pitch to McKinney. When Dan's at his best, he adds and subtracts to his breaking ball. So out there, I think by definition, you might even call that a curveball right there, but that's just the ability to put a little bit more or less on the slider.
At or over the 100 pitch plateau for the 10th time this year. Well, this is the second start against an American League team this year for Straley, and both have been pretty good. This one a line drive base hit, just the fourth allowed by Straley, and the second time that McKinney has got him at him for a double in the 6th inning, and now a single in the 8th.
Now this is a fastball, didn't do too much. The four-seamer does stay up right about the thighs on the outer third. McKinney stays on and picks up his second hit of the ball game. Continues to stay hot. Striking out his first 2 times up. 2 hits here on the 6th, now 1 in the 8th for Knight.
There's Gurriel, a single and a sac fly. Offers at the first pitch, fouls it to the right side. The other time that he pitched an interleague play was at the Rays, 7 innings, 4 hits, and a run. He's at 102 pitches right now, and his spot is due up first in the 8th. If he gets through this inning, you think this is it?
I do think this is it. I'm trying to come up with a reason why you would even offer it. Straley, he's up over 100 pitches. He's pitched incredibly well tonight. I think you would argue that you're just avoiding your bullpen to avoid your bullpen, maybe with what happened in Boston a little bit, but I'm not sure that's the place you want to go. You do still have a month of baseball to go. The idea is you certainly want to get a few guys back involved.
Never had a complete game in his career. This one popped up. Foul territory right side for Rojas. Well, we might find out the answer together when we come back. His spot due up first. Marlins a 5-1 lead through 7.5. Game series tomorrow. Marco Estrada goes for the Jays. Wei-Yin Chen on the mound for the Marlins. On the air with the Marlins live pregame show, 6:30, and the first pitch a little after 7 here at Marlins Park for an afternoon series finale on Sunday. And the Phillies come to town, but first it's Estrada and Chen tomorrow night.
Day game on Monday too.
That's right. The Phillies.
Now, I heard you, I believe you said Wei-Yin. You sure you didn't misread that?
Wei-Yin.
Cy
Chen. You're
there
right.
You go.
You're right. Yeah, Cy Chen. Cy Chen at home.
We are in Marlins Park.
We are. It's a good point. It's a really good point. Well, Cy Straley is done for the night.
That's true.
After 8 terrific innings of work, he gives way for Isaac Galloway. And for Straley, first time that he goes 8 innings this year.
Took all the suspense out, didn't he?
Guess so.
Great debate going on for about 15 seconds.
Well, I think part of it was, and forgive me for not having brought this up earlier, but Don Mattingly did confirm that the Marlins will be going to a a 6-man rotation in September. I don't know if it will be for the duration of September or right when they expand rosters, but they're planning to go to a 6-man rotation, give some guys some more rest. So you thought maybe you can certainly make a case that you could get Danny up to maybe 120 or so. But as I have said before, and I'll say again, I'll just let Donnie manage the team.
Not your job to speculate.
No.
Well, an outstanding effort from Straley. Always had himself a nice run. Home run in Boston. Hanging breaking ball. I certainly know a thrill for Isaac.
Joe Biagini's 2-2 pitch on the way to Galloway. It's chopped foul. No career complete games for Dan Straley, and this was just the 3rd time in his career that he had completed 8 innings. And so once last year against the Giants in July, and then in 2016 as a member of the Cincinnati Reds against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Well, what better way to combat a team that can hit 182 home runs through 5 months of a season than to have one of your best sliders of the year. Dan Straley, 104 pitches tonight, 46 sliders, 44.2% of his arsenal tonight. More than the 4-seamer, obviously more than the changeup and curveball. 46 sliders tonight. No home runs, Paul. I think that it really tells you all you need to know. A number of fly ball outs. I believe he's in double digits. Got him at 10.
You are correct, sir. Eight innings or 9, impressive nonetheless for Dan Straley, and that is back-to-back outings. That's 14 innings over his last 2 starts and 1 earned run. Nice job of bouncing back. He had that 5-start stretch prior to these 2 where he was pitching with 6.39 ERA.
Well, and I would love to see Dan Straley. And if you think back to last year, Dan had a really good season going up until about September, and that ERA got bloated. He had 5 starts in the month of September, and the ERA was just under 7. So would love to see Dan really continue to build off of what he's done his last 2 starts and push hard through the month. Finish this thing strong. He's got a good chance to get the ERA maybe under 4. He's in line to.
Ooh, hot shot to Diaz over at third. Makes a terrific play to take extra bases away from Isaac Galloway.
Absolutely right. Pretty nice play by Diaz. First out in the inning. Not shot off the bat at Galloway. One hopper to the backhand. A strong throw across the diamond. Gets it by just a step. Really no time for missteps, if you will. Diaz up. Strong throw to Morales for out number 1.
Top of the order, Rafael Ortega takes ball 1. Ortega 0 for 4 tonight. He and Austin Dean, the only 2 Marlins starting position players to have yet to join the hit parade. 5 runs, 10 hits for the Marlins tonight. Coming into tonight for Ortega, 6 runs, 6 walks, and 5 RBIs in his previous 7. So he's been swinging a hot bat, getting on base, coming around to score. And a big hit in Boston. And gets one there. Your move, Austin Dean.
Yeah, that's right. Shall receive. There you go. Certainly Ortega has provided consistency atop the lineup. Catches it just off the end. Just enough to line it into center field for his first hit of the night.
Well, of course I joke, but is there that friendly competition on nights like these when it seems like everybody's getting a hit? Do you know you're the only guy that doesn't have one? Is there an extra pressure?
I think you play with a little bit of expectation. Like, you look at yourself like everybody else is doing it. Why aren't I?
Right.
You know, it's very, very normal. We talked about this just, what, a couple of nights ago in Boston. We watched. Oh, my. That is way up there.
Rainmaker out to left field for McKinney. And that's out number 2 in the inning.
For Anderson, reached base 4 times tonight. Denied here his 5th time up. We were in, we talked about Benintendi, the inning, where the Boston Red Sox were just rallying. Everything was coming off the bat. Hardy ended up making three outs by our definition, so to speak, and do a double play and sacrifice. And certainly we're talking about it. But yeah, you don't want to be the guy to make that out, especially when your team starts to roll like that. We've seen a little bit of this tonight, certainly with the Marlins of late. You pump out double-digit hits, you want to be part of that. You don't want to be the guy that stops the inning or stops the rally.
Well, of course they lost both games in Boston, but if you're looking strictly at an offensive perspective, in the opener of that series they scored 7 runs and got 13 hits, and then the next night 6 runs 9 hits. Tonight 5 runs 11 hits. Now this is the same offense that maybe a week or so ago was having a tough time getting runs on the board.
That's a pretty good example of a lot of times where, days off, those opportunities to refocus and kind of reset some things. We've seen it here of late. The Marlins have had a few more days off here over the last couple of weeks, and I think they've benefited them. There's a couple of times earlier as we were kind of heading even into the All-Star break, I said to you, boy, oh boy, this is not like when this is showing up at the wrong time. They're raking right now. Guys are hitting the ball well. Things are going right. You don't want a day off. You want things to kind of keep going.
Yeah, I mean, on that last homestand in that 4-game series against the Atlanta Braves, they scored 4 runs in those 4 games, and they were shut out twice. They won 2 games. So do with all of those numbers what you will, I suppose. But the bottom line is the offense seems to be clicking again. An RBI single and a run scored in the 5th inning for Real Muto. Marlins scored all 5 of their runs in 2 innings, 3 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th tonight.
Well, really what we've seen from the Toronto Blue Jays tonight, and I do think it benefits the Marlins an awful lot. Just let everybody out of their bullpen. Of course, we saw this with Sanchez as well, and it does feed a strength of the Marlins. They are a good fastball hitting team. See a number of fastballs to Muto tonight. Just about everybody else in this lineup made some nice adjustments in the game.
In the dirt, and that will give Ortega a head start. Runner goes as this one is chopped to Diaz at 3rd. And Real Muto is retired. We'll head to the 9th inning. Marlins trying to close out a win. transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Buy Lincoln. Join the Lincoln Summer Invitation sales event and buy your South Florida Honda dealers. Nice night here in Miami, especially for the Marlins, who lead this one 5-1. Got 11 hits tonight, but they also got a terrific start from Dan Straley. Went the first 8 innings of this one. Not going to be able to finish it off, but he is the Coors Light refreshing finish with the usage of the slider, which was something of an out pitch in one form or another all night long.
Well, he did a fantastic job setting it up. He threw it early, he threw it late, and he threw it for an awful lot of outs. You see the theme here. Yeah, that's right. He used it time and time and time again, and really messed up the timing of the Blue Jay hitters. Look at all these swings. They're out on their front foot. They're fooled by the change in velocity, and a lot of times that change in angle, the ball enters the hitting zone. So guys having to make adjustments, and really a lot of pop-ups. 10 of them, in fact. Well, he stays in the game.
Double switch. He's out right. Bearclaw will face Kendrys Morales and deliver a strike. Morales, Grichuk, and Pilar. As Bearclaw gets on the mound for the 54th time this season. Seen him off the DL a couple of times and a couple of scoreless outings. One against Atlanta, one against Boston. Hot shot up the middle off the bat of Morales. So for Morales, that was his first hit tonight and first hit in a game since that 7-game stretch in which he had homered in consecutive games. Now Grichuk bounces away from Real Muto. Late start for Morales. Throw gets into center field, but Morales will stay at second base.
Let's take one more look. JT kind of gains an opportunity as Morales really did not break in time. So put JT in a position where he felt like he had a shot at second. Throw gets to the bag. He might have got him, but it was a wild pitch.
Grichuk tonight 0 for 3. .94 miles an hour, top of the zone. Ball's in a strike to the Blue Jays right fielder. Center fielder Kevin Pilar waits on deck. Again, they were both scoreless outings, the two that Bearclaw has pitched in since coming off the disabled list with that little back issue. But he did have 2 walks in that inning in Boston the other night. And he's got a walk here. 2 on and nobody out for Pilar. Pitching coach Juan Nieves out to the mound. You know, now's a perfect time for a shameless plug, not even for me, but The Athletic. You read The Athletic at all?
Occasionally.
The Zach Meisel had an amazing piece today that I read while I was getting my oil changed, which is neither here nor there, about what goes on during a mound visit. And there are like 4 different categories to what happens in a mound visit, right? Well, like a scouting report, or tell a joke to get the guy focused, a little confidence boost, like all these different things. But like, that's why I always ask you, what are they talking about in this one? Because there's all these different things to say.
Right.
It's never hugely mechanical.
Well, the one you just saw was, I'm sure, very, you know, there was
stay over the rubber, maybe.
Well, there was probably some advice as to what's going on, maybe a little bit of a pep talk at the same time. Of course, Bear Claw kind of trying to get back into rhythm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Some of them can be, as simple as, here, let me, let you catch a breath here. You're not coming out of the ball game, but you've made 20 pitches this inning.
Right.
And, you got runners on first and second, so you're refocusing. Every now and again, you run into the one that has the, the giggle joke. Usually that's kind of around. I always found that, and I've been in a couple of these where a guy's been on a great run to start a game, and then he gives up a hit in the 6th.
Right.
All of a sudden it's broken, right? And the guy, pitching coach comes out and he's, he gives you a real quick off the cuff joke, and you kind of are like, well, wait a minute, let's get refocused here. And that's kind of the purpose. Sometimes it's for the bullpen.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Pilar. That one misses. And the count is full with Danny Jansen on deck. Cut on and missed. Big strikeout for Bear Claw. 95 miles an hour. That's the first out of the 9th.
Yeah, in my opinion, he saved his best for last. Watch the 95-mile-an-hour fastball. It does kind of creep back in just a bit, but if you watch Pilar, he was thinking away, saw an awful lot away. Sometimes you'll beat a guy if you got enough velocity to do that. Mind starts to think away, hands start to leak away, and he caught him on that inside corner.
Here is Danny Jansen. There for a called strike. We'll hear from Don Mattingly. He'll break down Dan Straley's night. We'll break down Straley's arsenal as well on the WB Mason Marlins Live postgame show. Craig Minervini and Jeff Nelson standing by in center field. Marlins on the left side of the infield against the youngster. The 1-2 pitch is grounded foul. A leadoff single for Kendrys Morales. A walk to Randall Grichuk for the strikeout of Pilar for the first out here in the 9th inning. Marlins protecting a 5-1 lead, trying to hand the Blue Jays their 8th consecutive road loss. Ground ball. Castro, backhand, pops it up to himself. Not sure if he was trying to backhand flip it to Riddle, and it just stuck in the mitt or what, but either way, the Blue Jays have the bases loaded and 1 out.
Now this is going to be a tough play. Castro and Riddle went for the ball up the middle. I'm not sure you're going to get anybody at second base with all of his momentum going away. You see that back. Maybe JT was there a little bit quicker than I thought he was going to be, but it was going to be a bang-bang play at second with really no shot at first. Brings the tying run to the plate.
And it brings the manager, Don Mattingly, out to the mound. It'll be Drew Steckenrider to come in with the bases loaded and 1 out. Florida Lottery call to the bullpen. Going quietly, down 5-1. They've got the bases loaded and 1 out. Kyle Bearclaw came in, a single, a walk, a strikeout, and a single. And now Drew Steckenrider takes over and inherits a bases loaded situation in his 63rd game. A swing and a miss by Aledmus Diaz. Those are the numbers for Steckenrider. Morales, Grichuk, and Jansen, the runners third to first. Outside to Diaz.
Yeah, we know just about every form and fashion that Blue Jays march a hitter to the plate that has the ability to change this game with one swing of the bat, including this guy. He's got 16 bombs on the season, and Diaz.
Got on and missed, 1-2.
Justin Smoke is lurking.
Travis currently in the on-deck circle, but you're right, the pitcher spot is also coming up. Perhaps they could move Smoke up next. Either way, the focus is on Diaz, who doesn't like the call. A strike 3 call for the second out in the inning.
96 miles an hour, and the best one from Steckenrider. I know it's only 4 pitches, but boy, oh boy, did he dial up that outside corner. This is just touching the edges. Oh, my goodness. Make a pitch. How about it? See from the overhead, that ball just does catch enough.
So now it's Travis who takes the ball outside.
Hey, that's enough. All right.
And the home plate umpire, Jansen Visconti, giving a warning to the Blue Jays dugout. Must still be chirping at that strike 3 call. Two 2-0. Travis 0 for 3 tonight. Couple of fly balls and a ground out. Two balls and a strike.
Yeah, I got to admit, I'm a little bit surprised. This is just me speaking. Smoke didn't take this at bat. 21 home runs on the season. With Morales for the team lead.
Steckenrider a strike away from getting out of a bases loaded situation and ending the ball game. 2-2 pitch on the way is outside. And now the 3 runners will all get a head start. Three and 2. And the bases will be loaded in a 3-run game for Justin Smoak.
This is the one man you didn't want to see pop out of the dugout. Nieves is going to make his way out to the mound to refresh Steck, the scouting report. Justin Smoak.
Home runs, 64 RBIs for Smoak. Homers in the last 2 games against Baltimore, but in his last 19 games overall, hitting .217, 3 homers, 2 doubles, and 7 RBIs.
Here we go. Smoak makes his way to the batter's box. Give us the numbers on Smoak, Paul. 1 for 6 this season with the bases loaded. Does have 1 home run.
The Marlins pause a second to flip-flop the defense. They'll move Riddle over to a more traditional shortstop spot and Anderson to the right side of second base. All right, loaded, 2 outs. In a 3-run game, the pitch to Smoak, cut on and missed. A called strike at the top of the zone. Smoak asking if it was up, but our strike zone showing that was right there. Close, but strike 2. And now Steckenrider again, a strike away. The pitch is driven out to right field. And Smoak has a pinch hit, grand slam. The Jays have taken the lead.
Steckenrider trying to climb the ladder with velocity. Now up didn't work. Two-seam fastball. The pitch before had great run. That's why Smoak laid off. He asked the question, is it up? Home plate umpire Visconti says absolutely not. That ball's in the strike zone. Watch Smoke. He basically hit the target. Except that fastball, Smoke was ready for. And the Blue Jays now have a 6-5 lead.
Well, that is the third time in Smoke's career that he has homered in 3 straight games. But some mean a little more than others.
Now his 3rd career grand slam home run.
And now McKinney with a base hit up the middle.
What's so interesting, obviously, about the home run itself is the pitch before. You mentioned it. Had turned around and asked where the top of the strike zone was. Found out that the pitch was basically in the zone or at the top of it. A ball that he thought was too high. So he says, I better defend against it with 2 strikes. Steckenrider hit his mark. It's not enough to get it by the hard hitting Smoke. 22 home runs. At some point he was going to get an opportunity to factor in a National League park.
Well, 3 of the runs charged to Bearclaw, 2 of the runs charged to Steckenrider, and a great 8 innings from Dan Straley go by the wayside. As the Marlins bullpen entering this game, 87 innings pitched in August, a 5.90 ERA, a slash line of 306, 373, 467 this month. Gurriel, the 9th man to bat in this inning, taps one to Rojas, who flips to Steckenrider. And what was a 5-1 lead is now a 6-5 deficit as the Marlins trying to come back, trailing by a run in the bottom of the 9th. Runs in the top of the 9th inning to turn a 5-1 deficit into a 6-5 lead, and now they turn things over to their closer, thanks in part to Justin Smoke, who stays in the game to play first base, but his grand slam with 2 strikes.
0-2.
2 outs.
Yeah.
Not far off from what we saw in Chicago, although that was at home and that was a walk-off, but a come from behind pinch hit grand slam.
Well, you know what? You can almost see it coming. I don't mean the grand slam so much as the smoke swing. We talked about it. You brought it up. I mean, it was like dialed in. The pitch before it, Steckenrider 0-1, goes up with the fastball, little arm side run to it, gets a strike at the top of the zone. Smoke asks about it. JT sees him ask about it. Says, well, we need to go right back up there, right? All of a sudden, he pulls out of his back pocket the best swing of the night and unloads above the strike zone at 95.
Into center field, and Rojas leads off the 9th inning with a base hit. Well, leave it to Miggy. One of the leaders on this team. You can't take the 5 runs off the board, so let's try to get 2 and win this thing.
Well, and you certainly like the approach. Stays inside. Dumps one in center field for a leadoff base runner. Leadoff single here. The bottom of the 9th inning. Rivera's going to come in and pitch run. Good job getting it started.
So Rivera maybe a little quicker than Miggy, given that Miggy's been maybe in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks or so dealing with that ankle. Maybe give you an opportunity to score from the gap. Maybe stay out of a double play.
Now for Giles, 4-seam fastball, slider, throws hard. 97, 98 miles an hour. See that slider about 42% of the time. I think with Giles, and certainly we see this sometimes, obviously guys who throw really, really hard. I like to call them, you have bad balls and good strikes, kind of speaking from a hitter's perspective. The balls are easy takes, and when he does throw strikes, a lot of times they're out over the middle of the plate. As I mentioned, right-handed hitters hitting .315 against Giles this year.
One pitch to Castro. In there for a called strike. They call him 100 miles Giles, but that one in there at 85.
Well, that was his slider. He does lean on that an awful lot. Throws hard, but his fastball is straight. Put up 3 home runs to a right-handed hitter, 3 to a lefty.
And called strike 3.
Back sliders to that inside part. Third. Despite the bloated ERA 5.75 coming into tonight's game, he's 18 for 18 in save opportunities this year. Remains the only closer without a blown save.
JT Riddle takes a look at ball 1. Now this year in Major League Baseball there have been 81 walk-off home runs, which is a new single season record. There's still a whole month left of the season. The Marlins have 8 walk-off wins. They do not have a walk-off home run. Outside, 3 balls and no strikes to JT Riddle with Austin Dean on deck. And the Marlins have the tying run in scoring position, winning run on first for Dean. Blue Jays got Giles right before the trade deadline from the Houston Astros in the much talked about trade of Roberto Ozuna. Giles had some issue in Houston with A.J. Hinch, and certainly the story too long to dive into right now, but either way, he is in Toronto. He's trying to close out the game. Marlins trying to turn around the night. Blowing a 5-1 lead in the top of the 9th inning, a chance to tie it or win it here in the home half. Outside to Dean, 1-0. Tying run, Rivera, the pinch runner, leading off from second base. As Dean takes low and in, 2 balls and no strikes.
Inside. Inside.
Home plate umpire Jansen Visconti again yelling with the Blue Jays bullpen. I think it's tough to tell from that angle in or out. Just saying it was inside. 2-0.
I think Giles at times, predictability that I talked about. As a closer, you fall behind hitters, you start to zone up or square up. Exactly what you're looking for. A fastball down the middle of the plate with that high velocity doesn't have a whole lot of movement in the zone. The question is, can you catch up with the velocity?
Popped up behind first. Smoke has room for the second out. Now the Marlins are down to their final out. Well, Sierra has had a big hit already this week. Hit against Craig Kimbrell in Boston the other night. Now we'll see if he can catch up with the heat from Ken Giles. Either keep the game going, keep the line moving, or tie the game. But he'll have to do it similar to what he did the other night.
I'll tell you what, that was an impressive attack against Kimbrell. Ready to hit, getting the job done. Huge moment coming through for the Marlins. Maybe his biggest hit as a Marlin. Well, here he is again. Opportunity to change the outcome of this game, or the fate of this game, if you will.
One ball and one strike. Marlins down to their last strike. Tying run on second, winning run on first. Ball at 2 strikes. Foul back.
Consecutive fastballs, so he should have a pretty decent feel of the Giles velocity. Because none of the swings has been favorable to Sierra, I would anticipate Giles is going to continue to bring the heat.
Wow, it sure didn't.
Surprise, went with a slider.
Again, the 1-2 pitch. Out to left field. And McKinney will put it away. Now, that is a tough loss for the Marlins. Up 5-1 going into the 9th inning. They lose this one 6-5. With the help of a Justin Smoke pinch hit grand slam as the Jays were down to their final strike. Lots to talk about on the Marlins Live post-game show, which comes up after the break.